Welcome to the Delo Show, and I'm your host, Ryan Delo Delosier, and we are covering right now the murder of Linda Madison. This is a bonus episode today, and so for this bonus episode, we will be covering, I'll bring this up here on my screen right here, we're going to be covering some of the letters that happened afterwards. So everything, if you have not listened to the first 10 episodes that I have, you should probably take some time to go back and find those, go through those. Those are all based on newspaper articles that I was given from the Yakima Herald from the Yakima Valley Regional Library. Back, I got those. They're all back from 1975 when this was all happening. So yeah, go back, listen to those episodes first. This is a bonus episode, so I have received some more documents from the Yakima County Superior Court system, and I have 2 batches of documents that have a lot of pretty good stuff in them. So I'm pretty excited about what I have to work with, and some of the sounds, and some of the things that I get to cover that are in there. So today I'm going to cover some of the. There's a letter, and I ran across one earlier. There was a letter in the first batch I got about 2 weeks ago. I got a batch of documents from the Yakima County Superior Court that regarding just this case. I asked for some stuff based on it. I can share that with you later, but it pertains to the murder. But in there was a letter from the prosecutor Jeff Sullivan and to my grandma Arlene Martin, whose house this was at. So, and then what I did, speaking of her house, I did have a picture of it here. So this is where it was at in, you can see this is actually from the Yakima GIS website, Yakimap, and it was on November 11th, 2003, where the house is at right there. And this is about as close as I could get to what it was. I believe she moved out of there in about 1996. Not for certain, but around then she moved out of the house there. So, but what I did is I received some in the batches of documents. It's like 80 some pages of documents, so pretty cool stuff. But inside of those, I received a letter from Sullivan to my grandma Arlene Martin, and then I was curious, like, what led to this letter? Where did this letter come from? And I received the handwritten letter, a copy of it, from my grandma. So I'm going to go over that with you now. Just some of the stuff that was in there. So this was her handwritten letter that was written to, you can see it was actually written to Jeff Sullivan, but then also Sheriff Doug Blair. So Jeff Sullivan was the prosecutor at the time of the murder. He was prosecuting Joseph Brooks for the murder of Linda Lee Madison. And Doug Blair was not the sheriff at the time, but he was the sheriff in 1993. So, and I believe Jeff Sullivan might have still been the prosecutor. So even how many ever years this is later, 17, 18 years later. So my grandma had, in her article right here, says, as I read the newspaper, I wonder if you ever really think of the people who suffer in these murders. And so she's referring to the murder. She was there, and if you haven't listened to the if you haven't gone through and listened to the previous episodes, I cover all this in there of the murder that goes on. So I'm not going to spend too much time reviewing that, going back to it. But basically what happened is there was it wasn't one of her daughters, but someone was murdered in her house. It was one of her daughter's friends who was staying with him. So, my grandma was curious, or was wanting to express her concerns about Joseph's upcoming release for parole, which he was expecting to get around this time. He was supposed to be in, it was a life sentence, which is a minimum of 20 years, and so he was put in 1975. This letter's in 1993, so you can kind of figure that out with the math. Get your calculator out, you're looking at about 17 years, say 17, 18 years, so getting close to right there. So I, for one, have never gotten over the murders that happen in my house. The loss of the lovely girl who lost her life and the child that never made it in this world. So what she's referring to is Linda Lee Madison, when she was killed in the house, when Joseph came in with a .22 rifle and shot her, put a potato over it for a muzzle. There's an episode actually called the potato. And then the child, she was actually pregnant at the time too. And not many people knew, and I don't believe that Joe Brooks knew either at the time either. He knew, I think, after he murdered her, and he did. It came out in court, but that after the autopsy that she was indeed pregnant. The worry I have had since 1975 that Joe Brooks would get out and kill one of my kids. He threatened to. I want to know when he is released. So this was kind of my grandma's big concern right there. She was worried about him getting out. And he had said at the time that he had threatened lives of pretty much everyone involved. The people who lived in the house, it was just, yeah, he threatened everybody. So, and then my grandma goes on with a few more things. So these kids that killed the Skelton, so there was a murder in Outlook in 1993, a Skelton family. They were 14-year-old kids who have since been released from jail, but they spent time in jail for 30 years. But that's what my grandma's referring to here when she says this. So these kids that killed the Skelton family may only be 14, but they should go to adult court. They should not be put in with the juveniles. And that's that case right there. I don't know this next one right here that my grandma refers to. It says the kids that rocked the young man, their intent was premeditated. They brought the rocks with them. The young man who was rocked will suffer the rest of his life, I'm sure. So I don't know about that one. The last one right here, the kids that did the mop rape went back to school and back in wrestling. So this happened at Sunnyside, I believe in 92 or 93. She says, tell me they served a just punishment? No. And then my grandma goes into talk more about, how it says, do you realize how scared the people are? When we get together, that is all we talk about. That's why I'm writing this letter. And then she includes some of the things that people say. Don't go out of your house after dark. Keep your doors locked. Glad you have those 2 big dogs. Always keep your car doors locked. Don't go walking alone. And says, this is the advice I get all the time. If it is this hard, if it is this bad, then we need to be harder on our criminals, especially our younger ones. And it says, how about a boot camp where they can learn to work? And my grandma included her name and her phone number on there, and for Jeff Sullivan right there. So handwritten letter from my grandma that I received from Yakima County right here. And I did hear from my mom as well too, that Jeff Sullivan was always pretty good to my mom. So I appreciate or to my grandma. So I appreciate his help right there. Made her feel good. And so this was the article this is what happened from Jeff Sullivan. So you can see that my grandma wrote it on, I believe it was received on April 13th, and Sullivan had taken the time to write a letter back on the 14th. So he got right back to her. And this is 18 years after the murder. So after the fact, he gets right back to her the next day. It says, Dear Arlene, thank you for your letter of May 9th, which I think it just, because it said on the top, he said May 9th, 1993. In response to your specific concerns about the potential release of Joseph Brooks, I've discovered the following for you. Mr. Brooks has submitted what is called a mutual agreement plan for consideration. This is a multi-step program which will lead to his eventual release. If it is approved and followed to the letter, the process goes something like this. First, the plan is submitted to the head office of the Department of Corrections in Olympia, Washington for their approval. If they approve the plan, it is returned to the penitentiary for subsequent approval by the Board of Prison Terms and Paroles. If they approve the plan, Mr. Brooks will then have the opportunity to begin fulfilling the required conditions of his plan. This process is closely monitored by a number of people and will take approximately 22 months to complete. And let's see if I can find out. I bumped it ahead right there. Let's see where I'm at next. I said 22. I lost my spot. Oh yeah, so we've got 22 months to complete. Mr. Brooks has indicated to this counselor at the prison that he is intending to file a parole plan to Alabama upon successful completion of his plan. The state of Alabama will then be asked to review his request of parole to their state, and they will have the opportunity to approve or deny their request. If, at any time, he does not meet the requirements of the mutual agreement plan to the satisfaction of the various boards that will be monitoring him, the plan will cease immediately. In summary, it will be at least 22 months before he will be eligible for release, and that is only if his mutual agreement plan is approved and he meets all of his conditions to complete satisfaction of his supervisors. If that is done and Alabama approves his request, that will be his state of residence. So I believe this Alabama plan all fell through because I think he came back to Yakima in the long term, and 22 months, and that's because it's 22 months before he's going to even be released from jail right now. So before he meets that 20-year mark. So, and he went beyond that. I think I have another one queued up here too as well, a letter that he wrote in 1997 while he was still in prison. Mary Lou Whalen, Mr. Brooks's counselor at the penitentiary in Walla Walla, provided the above information. You should feel free to contact her with any questions or concerns you have about any of the above. Her telephone number is, and then they include the number 1527-4669. I think it's funny because now you have to dial an area code. Just, the change in times. And then he continued on. I hope this letter helps to answer your questions. If I can be of any further assistance to you, please let me know. And then Jeff Sullivan, prosecuting attorney. So he included that right there, and that was April 14th, 1993. And so this is later. This is much later, October 29th, 1997. And I thought I'd include this article as well, too, to kind of let you know that he hadn't gotten released right away, and he didn't go to Alabama. So this is to Jeffrey C. Sullivan at the courthouse, and it's from Joseph William Brooks while he is at Airway Heights Correction Center. So he is still in jail on October 29th, 1997. And so it says here, Mr. Jeffrey Sullivan, I am writing in regard to a situation that has come up. It is a necessity I write to you. Recently, I had a hearing in front of the parole board on October 16th, 1997. The last thing done before a violent offender is released from prison on parole is the victim notification. Under this process, some person or persons in Yakima have objected to my release. As a result, I was arrested at the camp and brought into the main institution of Airway Heights Correction Center on July 21st, 1997. I had been given a parole date of July 29th, 1997. So you can see that he was going to be paroled in July, still in prison. So and if you go back and listen to, he had a 20-year minimum on his sentence, but he also had at least one escape, and I kind of think there might have been another one right here from what he implies right here. So, which also was canceled at the time. It says, at the hearing in front of the parole board concerning the objection to my release, one of the allegations brought against me is that at the sentencing phase of the trial, I threatened to kill the judge, the prosecutor, and some other people. I told the parole board this did not happen. So from my side and from the people that I know, it did happen. So yeah, there we go. One way or the other, it's just one word against the other. But yeah, from people I know, it sounds that this did happen. Nothing like this occurred or never has. Now, it has come up as an allegation to stop my release from prison. This is plainly a false allegation of something I did not do. So, you can say it in a letter, I guess. I can assure you, I am not a threat to you or any other individual. I've lived with sorrow, regret, humiliation, and been ashamed of what happened the evening of February 5th, 1975. And I do believe that. I've gone through and I've seen in the release of stuff that I've received, I saw a lot of letters from him, and I no doubt that I think he felt all of those things and more immediately after doing what he did. The people who have suffered the loss will never see or hear from me again. I don't know about that. And I have no reason to desire to return to Yakima. Yeah, I don't know about that either. I do believe he is back here. A lot of his family was here. So, yeah. So I think, but he might have paroled to the Spokane area, like he says. It says, I plan to parole to the Spokane area. I need verification in front of the parole board that this allegation did not happen at the sentencing phase or any time of the trial. Detective Landale escorted me from the jail tank to the courtroom each day, constantly by my side. The other two allegations were that I was after somebody at the fair in 1978 while on escape, and that I had shot my mother in the stomach when I was 14. So these two things, this was interesting here too. There are two allegations that he did escape in 1975, and that's one I do know about. I'm not 100% sure about this one. So it says the other two allegations were that I was after somebody at the fair while on escape in 1975, and one of the it sounds like Linda had worked at the fair, but she had obviously died in 1975. And it sounded like some of my mom's sisters also had worked at the fair. Their house was close to it, so it made sense for them to just go over there and work there. All right, and then he's asking, says, would you please send verification to the parole board concerning the allegation about the sentencing phase of my trial? Thank you very much. Signed, Joseph William Brooks. So those were just some articles that I wanted to go over in the court case right here. I found them very interesting. as we go through and just take a look again. He did eventually get out, but he did not serve the entire, or he did serve 20 years plus. So after a few others, and I don't know exactly. I haven't received any data on when he actually did get released, but from what I can see right there, it was more than 20 years. So I found that interesting. I wanted to take some time to go over that make a bonus episode for you to check out and enjoy. If you're enjoying this, like, subscribe, share, do all those things that you do. If you don't like it, I don't know. Go find another podcast. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So go check them out. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you taking the time to get to the end of this. And if you like, comment, share, subscribe, check me out on. I have a Facebook page, the Delo Show podcast. It's on Instagram, all those places. Everywhere you find all that stuff. I think I have an RSS feed now set up to send this to YouTube. So check that out as well. I'd like to thank you for getting this far, and if you enjoyed it, hope you have a great day.